Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I am super excited for today's video. We are going to be discussing old makeup products in my collection that I used to love at one point in time, but somewhere along the road, these specific products have lost their spark. I did see Lauren May Beauty do this last year, and she also did like makeup that still has its spark, and last year I filmed makeup that still has its spark, but I didn't do this. I also did, towards the end of 2023, post a video about old palettes that I used to love that I don't love as much. I have 2 palettes to discuss in today's video, but 10 other makeup products. And for one reason or another, I just do not love these products like I once did. I mean, the reason is likely because every day there's new makeup releases coming out. And as you try and test new things, some things you just don't love like you used to because you find new and better things. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. If you guys are interested, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. Okay, you guys, I self-tanned for the first time, well, second time all year. Yeah. Yes, for the second time this year, yesterday, and then I totally forgot to use like one of my lightest foundations on my face. So if I'm looking like super ghostly pale on the face, but maybe I don't, we'll see. Okay, where to begin? I do just want to preface this by like one category in general, and that is indie eyeshadow palettes have really ruined mainstream palettes for me. And I am someone who loves something like super punchy, super sparkly, super intense, and just fun on the eyes. And I found that now when I use like older palettes in my collection or like mainstream palettes, I just, you know, they're just not as good as indie palettes. So that is not an item, but I did want to preface that by saying indie palettes have definitely ruined mainstream for me. Okay, maybe we can just start with the 2 eyeshadow palettes. And I definitely talked about one of these in that video, possibly this other one, I'm not quite sure. But the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. And honestly, I would say even like the Huda Beauty Mini Obsessions palettes, I used to buy every single one of those that came out. Now I know she hasn't come out with as many recently, but when she came out with the matte ones at the beginning of last year, I was like, man, it also could be because it was an all matte palette. Anyway, I just, you know, haven't been as excited about those. But the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette, I have been in love with since 2019 when this released. It's just always held a special place in my heart. I feel like it's a palette that made color really approachable to me in a time where color was not something that was approachable. I'm struggling today to film. I'm like, I can't find a comfortable, like, maybe I need to zoom out a bit. Okay, I zoomed out a bit because I'm just like not happy with clearly anything today. But this is a palette like, it's one of the products that I feel like on my channel I have not been able to shut up about in the past. I still think there's some really, really beautiful sparkly metallic shades in this palette. Huda Beauty for a mainstream brand does a really nice job of including lots of different textures and tones within her palette, but I just feel like this color story is not a color story that I get excited for anymore. It also is a palette that is getting older in my collection, so I've looked at it over and over and over again for many years, which could also be a part of it. I don't find that I have any issues with the quality in this palette. Like, I don't feel like because it's gotten older I'm having issues with the quality. It's just something that I much prefer, like her Rose Quartz palette now to this palette. And so it's just not a palette I love like I used to. And then this might shock some of you, like absolutely shock. And I cannot remember if I mentioned this in that video, but the ABH Jackie palette. And do not get me wrong, this is still like a top tier palette in my collection. I still will like death grip bring this to my grave with me just because it's, you know, it does hold a place near and dear to my heart, but I just do not love this palette like I used to. And I think part of it is I'm really starting to think through like the color story and the shades that like I do use versus the ones that I don't. And really like these 6 shades right here are just not my favorite. And as I look at even like these shades, like I actually really do love these 3 mattes. I feel like if I want a warm brown look, I'm just so comfortable working with these 3 mattes specifically. Do I wish there was maybe one even lighter warm matte? Yes. But even like the shade Sponsored, I love. This was like the shade that got me into green eyeshadow. I have other more sparkly, more metallic, more intense shades similar to Sponsored now in my collection. So this shade just isn't special like it used to. Now granted, I love the shade Zam. It is such a beautiful, sparkly, glittery gold shade. I do like that shade still, I really love. But just looking at this, and again, this could be like, I've had this in my collection for how many years at this point in time, looked at this palette, how many years at this point in time. So it could just be that like I've looked at the same thing over and over and I get bored very easily. But this just is not as special in my mind as I once thought it was. And again, it could be because Indie Shadows also ruined it for me. All right, and then moving on to the 10 makeup products. I feel like I'm like, don't get mad at me for some of these, because I feel like there are some of these that like I literally have not been able to shut up about. Let's start with the 2 products that I feel like are most like, okay, don't come for me. But up first, I have the Tower 28 lip jellies, and I do really like this formula. My gripe with the Tower 28 lip jellies is I go through them so quickly. And while I have one of the shades on my lips right now, this one right here, while I really like the formula, I think it's really comfortable, and I really like a lot of shades within their line, I don't find that they have there's not a lot of wear time with the gloss. So I feel like I'm having to reapply really frequently, and therefore I go through the glosses really quickly. Now the shade Chill, for just a clear gloss, will always be something that I will own in my collection. I also really like the shade Spicy for like a popsicle lip sort of effect, but now I have the lip stains from Fenty that I feel like can do the same thing and just last me longer. And you guys know how much I love Lawless Forget the Filler. And that lip gloss lasts all day. I also love the Buxom lip glosses, and something that just makes my lips look a little juicier. So while I still like, if you have shades that you're interested in, or if you're wanting to try something from Tower 28, I still would recommend these, but I would just be leery that I feel like I go through them really quick and I don't feel like they have the best wear time for a gloss. So when I get through these, I think I'll always own the shade Chill, just because it's like the perfect clear gloss. I haven't found a straight up just clear gloss that isn't sparkly that I like better than this one. But aside from that, I think that's the only gloss I'll continue to purchase from them. And it used to be like my top gloss formula. And then similar to that, I have the Kosas lip oils. I recommend these all the time, and I do really enjoy them. They're really thin on the lips, really comfortable, a bit overpriced for what they are. And again, for me, I feel like I'm just looking for something a little bit different. I love the Clarins lip oils for like a true lip oil. Those are even more expensive than these, but I absolutely love the Clarins lip oil. I've been a huge fan of the new Kaja ones that released. And for me, I feel like I'm mostly reaching for these more as a gloss. I do really love the shade Jaws also for a popsicle lip sort of effect. But again, I have my lip stains from Fenty Beauty that I feel like I can use. I just feel like currently there's products on the market that I like better than this. Even like the lifter glosses from Maybelline for a gloss, I prefer over reaching for the Kosas lip oils at this point in time. Obviously, Lawless Forget the Filler for a gloss. And for a lip oil, this just doesn't necessarily feel like a true lip oil formula to me. So I think I'm moving away. I think I'm moving on from the Kosas lip oils. And then, okay, the only reason I am talking about this, we're gonna get into it. It's the Kosas Revealer Concealer. Formula-wise, still love this. I still think this is a tippity top, one of my most favorite concealer formulas. It is the packaging. So this is my second revealer concealer that I've gone through, and I wasn't rough on it, nothing like that, and my cap has broken in half. So this is the most annoying thing in the world to try and get on my under eyes, and for me, it is not worth the effort at this point in time. Like, I'd rather use a concealer probably that I like even like a little bit less than this one, but it's easy to get underneath the eyes. What I love about this one is it's such a creamy formula. It's really hydrating underneath the eyes, and it almost has a bit of like a sheen of a finish. It's not cakey, it's really thin. It's beautiful, but I cannot do the packaging anymore. So this is gonna be my last Kosas Revealer Concealer. I do have one foundation, one skin tint. So I have the NYX Born to Glow Naturally Radiant Foundation. Don't get me wrong, I still do like this foundation, but I have realized that I just am a diehard Dior Forever foundation fan. Like if I could only purchase one foundation for the rest of my life, it would either be that or the Guerlain Healthy Skin Glow. I love it so much. Also, when I was in love with this, I was 3 or 4 years younger than I am right now. You know, I'm aging every single day, and I've definitely noticed in the last like year and a half, my preferences have changed pretty significantly when it comes to foundations. I've also found I'm definitely needing to hydrate a little bit more because I feel like my skin is getting drier by the day. I will finish this. I don't know if you can even purchase this anymore, but it's not something that I would repurchase again after I finish. I know the Dior Forever is significantly more expensive. I know the Guerlain is significantly more expensive, but those two foundations just feel ever so slightly more comfortable on the skin, and I just feel more confident when wearing those two. So for me, this used to be a tippity top favorite foundation in my collection. I just have some that I'm really loving more than this. So that one I don't love like I used to. And then this was like a favorite, like top favorite tinted moisturizer in my collection. It's the Nobliss Skin Realist Beautifying Tinted Balm with Hyaluronic Acid Microspheres. I really liked this. I think I purchased these two in the same year, and I do still like this. My gripe with this right now is I almost feel like it's a little bit slippier than I like for a tinted moisturizer. I really fell in love with the Iconic London Super Smoother, and I also fell in love with the Fenty Beauty tinted moisturizer, which is also really funny because I feel like I purchased the Fenty tinted moisturizer around the same time that I purchased this, and I almost ended up decluttering the Fenty because I was like, this is just not for me. Whereas I really liked this. This now I find almost is like a little bit glowier than I typically prefer. I'm excited to bust this back out. But for me, I just really, the Iconic London Super Smoother Tinted Moisturizer, I personally just really love. I feel like even without a primer, there's been some days I've been dashing out the door for work and I always use the Iconic London one because I'll literally just use my fingers to blend it out. There's been times that I've forgotten a primer and I still feel like it just grips really nicely to my skin and smooths everything out. Whereas this, I feel like now is settling into lines a little bit more than some of my other favorites. So while I used to really love this, there's definitely others in my collection right now that are more of a favorite than this one from Nabla. Okay, I have 3 bronzing products, and I don't know what's going on. I like love bronzer so much, but I feel like I haven't had a problem even like with over consuming bronzer in terms of like last year I only bought 4 bronzers, which still sounds like a lot I'm sure to some, but in years past I feel like I would purchase like 8 to 10 bronzers. So I have actually I have a contour, a glowy bronzer, and then also like a cream bronzer contour. So let's start with this. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand. This I loved when I first purchased it. I don't know if it's because mine's getting older, but I don't love the tone of this like I used to, and I also do not find the applicator for the contour, like I don't find the applicator for this to be user-friendly in terms of like contouring the face. I don't mind the blush and highlight, but I do not like this applicator for contouring. And I also, I don't know, I remember when I was using this, I think in 2021, I was like, I will always repurchase this. I love this so much. Granted, I like using this over like the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder, but this is not something I'll repurchase when finishing. I would much rather even just like skip this step than actually use this product, just because I don't feel like it makes a huge difference. I actually don't even feel like this is a good shade for like contouring, at least for me anymore. And I just absolutely don't love this like I used to. Okay, this next product I still really like and still would recommend. I actually would still recommend these products, but I just don't, they're not like the top favorites in my collection anymore. There was a time where I was obsessed with the Huda Beauty Tantour product, and I really liked this because for a cream bronzer slash contour, it was definitely more full coverage. A lot of times with cream and liquid products, they're definitely more sheer. So if I wanted to do a cream product but I still wanted like full coverage, I'm gonna air quote that, this is the product that I would reach for, and I still really enjoy this product. I think it's a really beautiful tone. I think it's really creamy. I think it blends really nicely. It's very user friendly. However, It is really similar to my NARS Laguna bronzer, and I personally prefer the NARS formula to this. I'm interested in picking up the lightest shade in the range of the NARS Laguna bronzer, or like the cream. You guys know what I'm talking about, the NARS cream bronzer, because when I purchased it when it first launched as limited edition, and there was only like 1 or 2 shades. Now I will note, I believe there is coconut oil in the NARS formula, so I know some people break out from that, so definitely something to keep in mind. But for me, that product has kind of replaced the Huda Tantour, and I don't find myself reaching for this one as much as I used to. And then another product from Huda, I have the Glowish by Huda Beauty. I feel like many of these products were favorites in like 2021, so I can tell 2021, and I can tell like definitely last year there was a big shift and my preferences really did change. But this, I loved when this first released. I thought that this was so beautiful. It gave the most beautiful satin sheen, kind of a bronze to the face, and it was like one of my most reached for bronzers when this first released. Then I pulled it out for a project pan last year, and I just was not loving the way that this looked on the skin. I thought it looked patchy. I didn't think it blended well. I didn't like the sheen that it gave. There was just something about this that I didn't love. I said I was going to keep it for one more summer and try it again next summer. I do prefer this over like the Kosas bronzer personally, but I remember like this was my staple, and now I'm like, this might be a declutter. I have one highlighter. Now this is very old in my collection. I feel like I purchased this in like 2018, 2019. This is the NARS highlighter in the shade Fort de France. I think this is a beautiful highlight, but it is more of like a golden yellow. And actually this is definitely more of like a subtle highlight. So definitely should be like right up my alley for what I've been preferring the last year or two. But and it could just be because I have really found in the last 2 to 3 years that like a pink highlight is just where it's at for me. Sometimes I just feel like I really can't be bothered with anything other than a pink highlight, but there was a time where this was like the only highlight that I was using. I loved it so much. I will still say it still has it's such a thin formula. It's one of those highlights that truly just like melts into your skin and becomes like one with your skin. So it is a beautiful formula. Honestly, like I couldn't recommend the formula enough. I should go see if they have a pink highlight, because like if this came in like pink, similar to like Becca Rose Quartz, I mean, I'd be using it every day. But like I pulled this into so many Shop My Stashes and like could not get myself to reach for it. And I'm looking at it now and I'm like, that is so freaking beautiful. But it's just not a favorite like it used to be. And then finally, you guys, who's been subscribed long enough to remember when I purchased the Smashbox Cali Contour Kit and literally wouldn't shut up about this? I can't remember if this was 2019 or 2020 that I purchased this. I got it half off during a Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, and I just kind of purchased it on a whim. Like I was like, oh, it's $19, I'll buy it. And I just could not stop reaching for it. I loved it because it really did kind of have everything in here for me. It had a bronzer, a contour, a setting powder. I don't love the 2 highlights, but I love the blush shade in here. I could not stop using this or shut up about it. But I found as I've like really come to love face palettes, I don't find myself reaching for this one, which just doesn't make sense, because I was reaching for this at a time that like I didn't even love my face palettes, and now I love face palettes and I don't find myself reaching for this. I will say, I'm being a NARS stan, I love the NARS face palettes. I definitely reach for my Hourglass face palettes, like the blush palettes, quite a bit, but like maybe I should set a goal to pull this into a project and even try and hit pan on like the bronzer. I feel like the bronzer could be a really, really beautiful, okay, that could be a really beautiful bronzer. Okay, I've almost completed a powder bronzer. Like we're almost empty and I just like want to get that done and out of the way. So I have, you know, it's January, February, and I have a powder bronzer empty already for my end of year empties, but I would love to find a project to pull this into and at least try and hit pan on this and then get some more use out of this palette. So hold me to that. Remind me in updates for my project pans. But that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Those are 12 products throughout my makeup collection that I just don't love like I used to. Would love to know what products throughout your makeup collection you guys have fallen out of love with, or perhaps they've just kind of lost that spark. Let it go down in the comments below. below. Lauren's video will be linked in the description box as well in case you're interested in checking out her video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.